Ladies and gentlemen, this is Scott Pollock, Chief Editor of the Critical Post Chicago reporting. Welcome to another edition of the Critical Post Chicago Report. Thanks again for tuning us in, folks. We appreciate it. Please go over to the head page of the Critical Post Chicago and click on an ad to support us. As the journalism channels, ladies and gentlemen, continue to report death, natural disaster, war maneuvers in the Middle East, pop culture, politics, and sports, no context of relevance to the American population is forthcoming. The following is what this anchor desk has found to be of high interest and as well curious within the past few weeks. In the last couple of weeks, music fans in America have lost two of their most popular icons. The first was Merle Haggard and then Prince. However, we find it interesting that Merle Haggard, whose musical career spanned more than 50 years, and who was responsible for what's known as the Bakerfield Sound, didn't receive 1/10 the coverage of the latter, Prince. One, it is now known, was addicted to prescription opiates and recently treated for a Percocet overdose. The other was later known simply as a pot smoker. Merle Haggard and Prince will be missed regardless by many. The next headline, the world's steel glut and more movements in the global regime. An interesting article appeared in the China Daily. The headline read, China's road out of poverty gains traction. In the report, which is no doubt controlled by the Communist Party, part of the article read as follows. In a keynote speech to the inaugural Global Infrastructure Forum in Washington, D.C., Minister of Finance Liu Jiwei said the country is making great strides in improving living standards through infrastructure. He said China's power grid is now extended to all the rural villages. In 2 years, he continued, we'll ensure people have access to safe drinking water in every village, and in 3 years, we will have fourth-generation wireless networks in rural areas. We will also help relocate farmers in inhospitable places to reduce poverty. The Global Infrastructure Forum convened the leaders of multilateral development banks, including Jin Li-kun, president of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Curious, ladies and gentlemen, that the Global Infrastructure Forum was being hosted in Washington, D.C. Why was it important for China's Minister of Finance, Liu Jiwei, to let everyone know how well China is doing while in Washington, D.C.? That's the question from this anchor desk. While in America, tens of thousands of steelworkers have already been laid off and not likely to be employed by the industry again in any substantial manner. In Spain, thousands are being laid off. In Britain, steel manufacturers like Indian-based Tata Steel are selling off their assets, with reports that in Britain, well over 1,000 workers will lose their jobs. In America, U.S. Steel has laid off another 800 workers, while in Spain another plant has axed 330 workers. British journalism channels initially overstated the amount of worker layoffs in their early reports as between 40 to 80,000 workers. Later, these estimates were revised downward by a power of 10. In China, steel plants which support recent urban developments have been shuttered in several different northern parts of the country, and international governing organizations, otherwise known as IGOs, and their think tanks are seeking Chinese steel manufacturers to continue to cut their capacity, which stands at 1.1 billion tons, which is half the world's steel output. Chinese steel plants are subsidized by the communist regime, and they operate at a loss. This suggests the idea that China is producing a war in economic terms upon Europe and America, and has been for quite a while. Notwithstanding all of the competitive monetary devaluations that occur in the foreign exchange money markets, the Chinese government will continue to benefit from the tax base installed by American businesses operating on their mainland. In other areas of employment, it has recently been reported that during the last year alone, gun manufacturer employment in the United States is up by a whopping 73%. World healthcare issues. In Britain, there's an ongoing threat of a strike by what's called junior doctors over pay in the UK's national health system. The strike threat has continued for the last few weeks. In America, United Healthcare is being reported that they are withdrawing from the healthcare exchanges in which they participate, citing losses by the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act of over $650 million. United Health already plans to withdraw from at least 5 states in 2017 after selling coverage in 34 states for 2016. The company said that it should have stayed out of the individual exchange markets longer. United Health had about 795,000 customers in ACA exchanges as of March 31st and expects that number to fall to about 650,000. Citing another report, United Health is withdrawing from most of the 34 exchanges in which it currently sells, citing the previously mentioned losses in 2016. A recent Foundation report indicates United Health departure will leave consumers in Oklahoma's exchange with only one choice of insurance carriers. Were United Health to exit all 34 states, the share of counties with only 1 or 2 carriers on the exchange would rise from 36 to 52%, while the share of enrollees with only 1 or 2 carriers from which to choose would nearly double from 15 to 29%. In yet another report, U.S. health insurer Humana Inc. announced that its profits fell significantly in the fourth quarter of 2015, largely due to rising unexpected costs associated with new customers who signed up for health care under the Affordable Care Act. The company said it was evaluating whether it will withdraw from the program in 2017. The Kentucky-based insurance company, which is expected to be taken over by rival Aetna later this year, said that profits fell 30% in the fourth quarter of 2015. It reported a net income of $101 million in that quarter, revised down from $145 million the previous year. As early as 2013, major insurance companies Blue Cross, Aetna, Cigna, and Humana have decided not to participate in various states in the ACA health insurance exchanges. That will be the only place Americans will be able to buy a health insurance plan using the federal subsidies authorized under the ACA law. An analysis of these facts revealed that even under the ACA there is not a broad-based market competition like there would be if all government-regulated market boundaries were erased. In a recent confidential conversation that I had with an insurance provider's software systems analyst, she discussed with me the following. What is equally curious is the fact that hospitals are not required to give customer patients an estimate on procedures before they receive the procedures. CPT codes, which are the charges associated to procedures, used by insurance company in a collective bargaining arrangement within each artificial market boundary, are not open to free market competition within the nation's hospital market. It's a fact that is never cited in the healthcare debate. As well, if one were to walk into a hospital and pay upfront in cash, in all cases the charge is nearly double for the retail consumer. This anchor desk would pose the question, why do these conditions exist in the USA's healthcare system? Why are the hospitals themselves being protected in this manner? Regarding the nation's energy initiatives. Very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. A federally backed $2.2 billion solar project in the California desert isn't producing the electricity it is contractually required to deliver to PG&E Corporation. That's Pacific Gas and Electric. It uses more than 170,000 mirrors mounted to the ground to reflect sunlight to 450 high-foot towers topped by boilers that heat up to create steam, which in turn is used to generate electricity. It uses natural gas to get the plant all warmed up and ready for each day. The amount of natural gas used would be enough to generate over 1/4 of the power actually produced from the solar energy. Faced with a recent shutdown, the Ivanpah solar plant will now have until the end of July to comply with a power purchase agreement it has with the utility PG&E to produce solar power needed to comply with California's green energy mandate. The California Public Utilities Commission subsequently refused to disclose exactly how much the deal would further cost state electricity rate payers. Coming up in our next report, ladies and gentlemen, the Panama Papers, the Plaza II money accords, Britain's exit from the European Union, 4-year-olds' gender identity in the public school systems, and Hillary Clinton playing the UFO card. Again, this is Scott Pollack, Chief Editor of the Critical Post Chicago, reporting. Thanks again for watching another edition of the Critical Post Chicago Report. That is all.